Let's talk about something we all know a little too well: procrastination. We're going to dive in and break down what is actually happening in your brain when you decide to put something off. Again. And that's the big question, isn't it? We know it's going to lead to stress, maybe some panic, definitely some guilt. So why on earth do we keep doing it? It makes no logical sense. But it turns out there's a very specific, very human reason our brains get caught in this trap. Okay, so let's set the scene. You know the one. It's 5 o'clock. That huge report you were supposed to be working on? Yeah, it's due tomorrow. The clock is ticking. Right. You sit down, you open up the laptop, you stare at the blank page, and you tell yourself, okay, for real this time. Let's do this. The intention is totally there. But then it happens. That little twitch, that little voice that says, I'll just check my phone for a second. Just a quick peek, before you really get down to business. And suddenly, making an elaborate dinner feels incredibly urgent. I mean, you need fuel to work, right? It feels productive, but it's not. And you can't even enjoy it because that deadline is just looming. And before you know it, hours have passed. You're exhausted, you're way more stressed out than when you started, and you make that classic final call. You know what? I'll be more focused in the morning. A fresh start. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. What we just walked through is that perfect, vicious cycle of procrastination. But to really get a handle on it, we need to be clear on what it actually is. So here's the deal. Procrastination isn't just, deciding to do something later. It's specifically when you avoid something you planned to do, even though you know deep down that it's only going to make your life harder later on. Now let's get to the absolute heart of this, because this is probably the biggest myth we need to bust. Procrastination is not, I repeat, not about being lazy. I mean, just look at the difference here. Laziness is apathy. It's low energy, it's doing nothing, it's not really caring. But procrastination, whoa, that's an active process. You are burning a ton of energy finding distractions, organizing your closet, anything, all while your brain is flooded with stress and anxiety. It's the opposite of lazy. And here's where it gets really interesting. A lot of the time, we're not procrastinating because we don't care about the task. We're procrastinating because we care so much. We're terrified that what we produce won't be good enough, so it feels safer to just not start at all. Okay, so if it's not a character flaw, then what in the world is going on? Well, the answer isn't in your personality. It's in your biology. Let's take a look at what's happening inside your brain. Believe it or not, when you procrastinate, your body thinks it's doing you a favor. It thinks it's protecting you. When you look at that stressful task, your brain doesn't see a to-do list, it sees a threat, and it immediately goes into self-defense mode. So here's the play-by-play. First, you see the stressful task. Instantly, your amygdala, that's your brain's little alarm system, starts screaming, danger. This floods your system with stress hormones. And in that moment of pure panic, your rational brain gets totally hijacked, and you do the only thing that makes sense. Run away from the threat and find something that feels good right now. But let's be real. That response is a little much. Your brain is reacting to a PowerPoint presentation with the same primal fight-or-flight system that was designed to save you from a literal bear attack. The response is just completely out of proportion. So now that we know we're dealing with an emotional reaction, not a time management problem, how do we fix it? Well, all that old advice about just be more disciplined and push through it, it might actually be making things a whole lot worse. Let's look at this side by side. The old rule says to be harder on yourself, but all that does is add more shame, more guilt, more stress, which just makes that threat seem even bigger to your brain. The new rule, be kinder to yourself. Self-compassion is what actually calms that alarm system down and shrinks the threat. All right, so if being kinder to ourselves is the key, how do we actually do that? Let's get practical. Let's look at the modern toolkit for actually finally breaking out of this cycle. First, make the task less scary by breaking it into tiny, non-threatening steps. Then, try journaling. Just writing down why this thing is so stressful can help you get a handle on the real fear. And yeah, remove distractions. Make it harder for your panicked brain to find an easy escape. But the big ones, the most important ones, are these last two. Practice self-compassion and forgive yourself for procrastinating in the first place. That act of forgiveness is what snaps the cycle of shame and avoidance. So, that kind of leaves us with this final, pretty radical thought. We're always told the answer is to just work harder, be tougher, push through. But what if the science is telling us the exact opposite? What if the most productive thing you can possibly do is just to forgive yourself?